What do we do now?
Please have a seat. Thank you. Thank you, Miss Trina. I am so happy to be surrounded by our young leaders.
I used to drive a truck. It's a long story. Anyway, it's getting hard. And I thought I was going to get to drive one of these suckers today. But anyway, it's another story, too. I remember, I'm going to digress for 1 second. I got a commercial license because my dad used to run an automobile agency. And I used to have to go up to the body shop up in Philadelphia from Wilmington. And when they'd order a trailer or a cab, they'd sell the cab. And so I had to have a license to be able to drive it up and back. And so during the trucker strike years later, when I was a young senator, there was a guy who ran steel from Deemer Steel out to Ohio. And so I decided to ride out with him to see what it was like on the strike. And I was driving, going through Shiloh, Ohio. And his handle was Big 10. And remember, everybody, all the truck stops were being blockaded at the time during the strike. And he called. He said, Big 10 wanting to come in. I forget exactly how he said it. And the only woman truck driver I ever knew I met that day, she said, "This is Big Mama, no room." Swear to God, true story. Swear to God. He said, "I've got a United States Senator driving my truck." She said, "I got the damn president in mind, so what?" I'll never forget that. I was a very powerful guy. Anyway, that was the first woman trucker I met.
At what age does the White House think that students should be taught about sexual orientation and gender identity?
Well, I would say, first of all, Peter, we have spoken to the Don't Say Gay bill in the past, I believe is what you're referring to, and made clear that as we look at this law, what we think it's a reflection of is politicians in Florida propagating misinformed, hateful policies that do absolutely nothing to address the real issues. The Department of Education is well positioned and ready to evaluate what to do next, and its implementation, whether its implementation violates federal civil rights law. But I would note that parents across the country are looking to national, state, and district leaders to support our nation's students, to ensure that kids are treated equally in schools, and that is certainly not, this is not a reflection of that.
More on the Supreme Court.
Yep.
President Biden was asked last week about Justice Clarence Thomas. I believe he said something, or he said it was up to the Justice Department or the January 6th committee on whether Justice Clarence Thomas would recuse himself from any of those cases, those being the January 6th cases. Judicial ethics mean that the Supreme Court justice generally makes his own decision on recusals. Does the president still agree with the view of the Justice Department or January 6th committee should decide? Has he taken a position at this point on whether Justice Thomas should recuse himself?
That's a decision up to the Supreme Court. We don't have an additional position from here. Go ahead.
Moments ago, you said that it was ludicrous that Russia would be allowed to sit on the UN Human Rights Council. I'm wondering if the president wants to see China remain on that Human Rights Council as well, given that his administration has already made a determination that China is engaged in genocide against the Uyghur people.
Well, our focus right now on the international stage on this question is on Russia, given the invasion of Ukraine and given what we're seeing, the photos from Bucha, others that we may see in the future. Obviously, we will continue to press publicly and privately where we have concerns about human rights violations, including as it relates to China.
Thanks, Jen. I just wanted to clarify on what I was asking Jake there, because it sounded like at the end he was leaving open the possibility of U.S. boots on the ground to protect civilians in Ukraine or to protect the supply chain?
I don't think that was his intention.
Question about college sports. In some places like the Ivy League now, there are biological males competing against women. Does the White House think that is fair?
Well, I would note that we're not the governing body for the NCAA or any other system out there that I believe you're probably referring to the case over in swimming in the NCAA. We understand how important sports are to student athletes across the country, but the NCAA obviously puts these policies in place.
As an example of electric vehicle benefits, $6,000 will be the savings for the purchaser of an electric vehicle over the course of the lifetime of that vehicle, because it's so low maintenance, because there are so few moving parts. But more than that, charging an electric vehicle is so much cheaper than filling up your gas vehicle, especially now. Electric vehicles can help break our reliance on fossil fuels so that we don't have to do that again. They can shield American families from the boom and bust of these high gas prices, and they can certainly negate the ability of other countries to determine whether it's ours or other countries' citizens' paychecks being spent on fuel for vehicles.
As they say in parts of Wilmington, Delaware, these guys brung me to the dance 35 years ago, 40 years ago. And Laura Underwood, where's Laura? There she is, right there, right in front. Good to see you, Laura.
Sanctions are intended to impose costs so that Russia cannot carry on these grotesque acts without paying a severe price for it. The other is to have an effect on Russia's behavior over time. But as President Biden has made clear repeatedly, we don't expect that that shift in behavior will be caused by sanctions overnight or in a week. It will take time to grind down the elements of Russian power within the Russian economy, to hit their industrial base hard, to hit the sources of revenue that have propped up this war and have propped up the kleptocracy in Russia. That's going to take some time to play out.